All right, we are going live, and we are having a little bit of technical difficulty. Abigail, can you hear me? You're reading my lips. All right. Well, we'll figure this out. You got to keep on trying to get connected. If not, maybe you can come down here and we could sit side by side if we need to. But we're here for another installment of KloobySnack. It's Sunday night. We're feeling all right. And as casual as we are on Sunday nights, one of the unofficial definitions of professionalism is knowing that the show must go on. So here we are. And we've been here now. Wow, this is the 32nd week in a row this year that we're ready to deliver a KloobySnack bite-sized and delicious motivation. I can see the look on Abby's face. She's trying to figure out the technical connectivity. You know, we can see it. Wait, can I hear you, Abby? No, she's muted. All right, I'll keep on checking in with Abby, so I'm going to have to carry it until she's flowing. But basically, KloobySnacks is a really amazing project. It's all about the cooking theme, but not just the cooking and the baking theme, but also like passing on to our daughter who's getting ready to go off to college in less than 2 weeks. And she looks a little choppy right now. Stay with it, Abigail. You'll get there. And the 52 KloobySnacks, they're motivational quotes. They're organized by Baker's Dozens. So we have 4 different flavors, if you will, or Baker's Dozens. 4 times 13 equals 52. But originally, the original KloobySnack is my wife's homemade cookies. And like before the kids were even born, so over 2 decades, I've been calling my wife's homemade cookies KloobySnacks. Well, after a while, as my career progressed and as I had more experience in the classroom and coaching and speaking and training, people would begin to write down my wordsmithed expressions. And so I got to a point where I felt silly enough and confident enough, right? I always combine the two. Confident and silly is a little bit jovial. And I just decided to refer to my motivational quotes as KloobySnacks. So either my wife's homemade cookies or my motivational quotes. And this is the 5th made for social media book that I've written with 52 tips in them, right? The previous books, like, you know, Get a Clue in 52, the speaker edition, or Get a Clue in 52, the coaches edition. And we have the entrepreneur edition. So if you want to partner with me on a made for social media book, we don't have to call it Get a Clue in 52, but Abby, my daughter, is my 4th co-author. So we could talk about that. But heading into this year, I wanted to popularize my KloobySnacks. Why not? I see motivational quotes everywhere, all over the internet, so why not mine? Now, truth be told, these motivational quotes are very often just universal truths, things that we all are aware of, things that we all know deep down, things that we've heard expressed maybe in other forms or in other phrases or with other phraseology or words or diction, if you will. There's a familiarity to everything that we're doing. Well, let's see what we got here. Oh, she's coming in by phone. Oh, there you go. Hey, Abby, how you doing?
That was horrible.
Oh, well, no. I thought I was doing great. No, I'm joking.
I couldn't hear anything and my entire screen was frozen.
Yeah, that's okay. You're here now and you sound great.
Hi.
All right.
On my phone.
So let me catch up. I was basically introducing the idea of KloobySnacks and how we got to the context of made for social media books that I've written, this being the 5th one. This is the first one that doesn't have a Get a Clue in 52 in the title because KloobySnacks stands on its own. And I want to popularize KloobySnacks. Why not? You know, it'd be great. I have a vision when I look out into the future. People are like, oh, that's a KloobySnack. What's that? Oh, it's a motivational quote by this guy, Jeff Kluback. And, you know, Abby, we're passing on the family recipes, so to speak, whether it's my wife's cooking recipes or my thought leadership, my wordsmithing. And then Abby is going to take everything that we're giving her to new and next and new levels. Cannot wait. 2 weeks from tonight, this is going to be happening from New York City. I'm going to be on a plane, actually, on my way back.
I don't know how we're going to do that.
We'll figure it out. You know, this week we'll put some time into thinking about maybe doing it on the Saturday or doing it Sunday morning or maybe even the next night, Monday. We're going to have to get a lay of the land. You're going to have to tell me when's the best day of the week, time of the day to do KloobySnack number 34. But next week for 33, we still got you under this roof. And tonight we're dealing with number 32. So let me go ahead and get some banners going. I was paying so much attention to whether or not you'd connect. I forgot to navigate and work the banners.
I had no clue what was happening at all. It was horrible.
Okay, well, you're dialed in now. And one of the, like I said at the opening, I said, as casual as we are on Sunday nights when we're doing what we're doing, one of the unofficial definitions of professionalism is to know that the show must always go on. So even through your technical difficulties, I kept going, and here we are. So if you want to join us, if you want to get into the conversation with us, it's tinyurl.com/KloobySnack32. Actually, any number 1 through 32 after KloobySnack will get you in tonight. Even 33, 34, 35, all the way up to 39. I've created the tiny URLs all the way through this third baker's dozen that we're in. So that goes back to what I was talking about in the opening. We've got 4 baker's dozens, 4 themes, 4 flavors, if you will. When I went to Abby and said, hey, will you help me get my over 100 motivational quotes, KloobySnacks, down to 52 so I can create a book? The ones that she chose were the ones that spoke to her, resonated, she was familiar with, she could quote verbatim because we've lived in the same house for all of her life, on and on and on. And they weren't so much the ones that I've done about sales, or the ones that I've written about marketing, or the ones that I've written about business ownership or being an entrepreneur or any of those things, because she doesn't have that level, that kind of experience yet. Although, don't blink, because she's now a paid actor. She's had, I mean, there's all, she's working in the real world, and I mean, everything's moving so fun and fast for you, Abby. But the point is, the themes are loving flavored, ego flavored, discipline flavored, which is the cookie jar we're in right now. And then we'll wrap up the year with integrity flavored. And that's a little bit of a through line to what I do a little bit more seriously. My book, The Integrity Game, is the 10-point model that I've come up with, proprietary intellectual property I've got on it. And this is what helps me deliver all of my services: coaching, consulting, teaching, training. Everything gets packaged Integrity Game now. So even this like heartfelt project, deeply personal, very vulnerable project with my daughter, daddy-daughter project, I still sprinkled a little bit of through line to the professionalism. Work hard, play hard is one of my beliefs. I don't think one is worth it without the other. All right. So Abby, what do you have to say before we get into tonight's review of snacks in this section so far, and then tonight's snack reading? I think this is a fun snack to talk through, but you got anything? You want to open us up with any comments now that you're dialed in?
I don't know. I'm just happy to be dialed in because that was really stressful. So I'm happy I survived the glitch.
Yeah, well, I had faith in you.
Thank you.
All right, cool. All right. No other comments or questions?
That was it. That's all I'm saying. That was really stressful. I was just looking at myself completely glitched. I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah. All right. I'm not going to ask, what was it like to see yourself completely still, unable to speak or talk? I don't even want to ask that. So that was rhetorical. All right. We haven't done this in a while, Abby, since you don't have anything like a story, an anecdote, a win that's at the top of your mind to share. I know that you get preoccupied in the circuit board jams when you're trying to get onto a live stream and tech isn't working for you. But I'm going to let this roll across the bottom. Huge thanks. Patty McKenna, Sean O'Connor, Stella Palin, our graphic designer, Stella. I just always called her Stella. I never even maybe said her middle or last name out loud, maybe 3 times in my life. But all of the people that you see rolling across the bottom there, they all had a hand in this project. They all made a contribution on some level. So I'm just going to let that roll. There's people that provided editing, cover design, people that proofread and gave nuggets of advanced praise or feedback on how to tighten things up. People that have come on board in these sessions with us to discuss the KloobySnacks and participate in the thought leadership that Abby and I are coming together to provide. And again, at the highest level, what we're really trying to do, there's so many things that this project does, but what KloobySnacks are all about, we want to make it easy and fun to look within. Right? We want to make it easy and fun to look within. What I want to do professionally is make accountability less threatening. Right. So this is at the overarching theme of what it's all about. But we want to create some laughs. We want to provoke some thought. We want to, what do I say? Fast paced, humor laced, and a little in your face. But we want to make it easy and fun to look within. So I'm going to let that roll across the bottom. Are you ready for a review of the snacks that we've covered in this Baker's Dozen on our way to? Yeah. All right. So the discipline flavored Baker's Dozen started off with KloobySnack number 27. We judge ourselves by intent while we judge others by their actions. 28. This is one of my favorite KloobySnacks because it's deep, and it's one of my favorite KloobySnacks because currently these days I'm wrestling with this one, right? There's somebody that I love in my life, and we haven't talked for a while, and I'm sure if it's going to be, it's up to me, and I got to eat my own recipe and snack on my own snack. And I don't feel that I owe the person apology, but I think it's the smartest and most loving thing to do is to lead with apology and see if that gets us back into dialogue. So this is like raw, this KloobySnack right here for me. This, apology and forgiveness, they both require the establishment of a quote guilty verdict. And I use rabbit ears around the word guilty because we don't want guilt, blame, shame. We just want to acknowledge what happened and what we would have wished for or what we're intending moving forward. So apology and forgiveness would be super easy if we didn't have to admit the screw up first, right? And that's okay. Moving on. KloobySnack number 29, The Road to Mastery is Paved with Fundamentals. It's one of my favorite KloobySnacks of all time because I think this one's been around longer than you have, Abby.
Probably.
Yeah, number 30, this one's been around for a long time too. The only mistake to be afraid of is the one we don't learn from, the mistake that we don't learn from. If you're dedicated to learning, then make mistakes, make them as big and as early and as plentiful as possible so that you get those learnings as soon as possible so that the rest of your time in your career, future life, whatever, is more mistake-free than it would have been otherwise. A lot of times you had some really good insights when we had this conversation, Abby. A lot of times people go around trying to avoid mistakes, but that's like almost robbing ourselves of the learning that's waiting on the other side of them. You know what I mean? And we should really try to avoid mistakes after we've made them, after we've learned. It was even like your brother when Brody came in with a broken arm. I said, well, okay, all right, we'll take you to the emergency room. We're on the way to the emergency after the freak out period. Like, what happened? What? All right, we're on. What'd you learn, Brody? Oh, I got to be careful. I got to be careful. Riding a skateboard is not as easy as I thought it would be. And, it's just like, hey, it's okay to make mistakes if we focus on the learning. And, just having this conversation with your brother, it's like, would say something like, well, I guess I'm not going to be riding a skateboard ever again. It's like, no. That's not the lesson. The lesson isn't like, oh, I screwed up, so let me avoid doing this thing the rest of my life. I'll never do this. It's like I told him, I said, I'd be more proud of you if you made a commitment to learning how to ride the skateboard.
Yeah.
But just being careful and implementing what you've learned and then getting to the other side with an accomplishment. Mistakes aren't a reason to regress and to coil and to stop. They're learning wrapped in a little discomfort. Don't let the packaging fool you. And then last week we talked about every job is an inside job. You have anything to say about this before I get ready to screen share and bring up the visuals that you like to have when you're doing your snack reading?
No, I like this one. This is another one that I didn't understand when we first went through them. And I don't remember why I still picked it. Maybe it was because I didn't understand it. But I like this one now after learning about it and writing about it and kind of creating my own meanings and stuff for it. I do like this one. But at first I remember just being really confused. I was like, what do you mean it's an inside job? Like, inside what? Like,
yeah, well, inside job is the term inside job is like when theft occurs from inside the organization rather than from outside the organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
An inside job, that's where the terminology is theft, etc. But I'm playing on those words, or that however recognizable that expression is. An inside job to say like, look within, look inside. We want to make it fun and easy to look within, because this is interesting. I don't know if we talked about this, but there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And I hope, Abby, that somewhere in one of your classes in the next 3 or 4 years or what have you, you're like, you have to read it, or I hope you choose to read it one day. It's something that I would love to discuss with you. But for now, I'll tell you this. One of the major takeaways from the book is that nobody can take away our ability to decide what things mean. Right? That's heavy if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
And so the book was written, Man's Search for Meaning. It was written by Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he went into the concentration camps already working on this form of therapy that he referred to as logo therapy. Because what's a logo? It's something that represents something other than itself. Right? Symbolism and meaning making and decoding. And it speaks of all of the things that when we get a stimuli, right? It's just a stimuli. It's not a message until we attach meaning to it.
Yeah.
Right? Which means there's default meanings that we'll make if our hands aren't on the wheel, like fight or flight, ego defense. This is happening to me, but we can choose meaning. Right. And it's just very heavy. This KloobySnack is really heavy, but Man's Search for Meaning. And so the point is that, one of the things he thought Well, in the concentration camps, people were stripped of their dignity, their possessions, their families. They were slave labor. They were on and on and on. And the ones that made the meaning, I'm a victim, how can they do this? Woe is me, and went to victim thinking. They're the ones that got weak soonest and gave up soonest and died. Does that make sense? The ones, however, that kept their faith in the face of all of those, imagine being enslaved and on,
Yeah.
but still believed in God, still believed in their God, and still believed like this too is for a reason. They were able to keep their heads up, and whatever was the condition was, they kept their faith. They stayed strong. They stayed serviceable as slave labor, and they are the ones that got out and survived once the camps were liberated. And so it's a heavy lesson about getting your hands on the wheel of the meaning making vehicles, right? What do I want this to mean? How do I want to feel? What would this need to mean in order for me to feel that way? Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's more that we could talk about here. And I know it's a last week's snack, but since you said you love it so much, I thought I would talk a little bit more about it. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Let me set you up as the lead speaker here. Let me go ahead. Oh, so by the way, you guys, that brings us to KloobySnack number 32, which I'll put on the board right there. If you want to be paid attention, pay it first. So I'm going to screen share and bring up KloobySnacks, and everybody gets to see now what I was talking about with the baking theme and passing on the family recipe with the little cookies in the advanced praise section. And of course, my wife's, the menu is I've gotten compliments lately on the design of the menu. That's Stella's fantastic work. And then, I really loved, like, there were so many cute little ideas that we had, but having Marianne put the recipe in as the forward to the book. This is the original KloobySnacks recipe. I mean, this alone is a reason to go ahead and drop the $20 on Amazon for your own physical copy. And then, I look at the introduction. I'm like, oh man, once you decided to write responses to all the snacks, I'm like, what am I going to write then? And you're right and funny when you say, no, Dad, you cannot respond to every KloobySnack. It's already too much you. And here's in 6-page introduction. So funny. All right, so loving flavored. We talked about all of that. We went through snacks 1 through 13 and the loving flavored, and then we got to, as I mentioned, ego flavored. These were deep. Right? Talking about looking within, ego, our sense of self, and understanding the hard wiring of the fight or flight instinct. And it's not just when we sense physical danger, but it's also ideas and thoughts and other people's behaviors, how quickly we respond to ignore or attack anything other than what's consistent with our sense of self. So when we're talking about personal and professional growth, we're talking about expanding our sense of self rather than aggressively protecting our sense of self, especially in the face of anything that might be equally or more valid than how our ways of doing and being, right? So that got us to our discipline flavored, which is where we are now. And we already did the review of snacks. So I'll get us up to number 32 real quick. Okay. And, I've already passed it. Look at that. 32. So if you want to be paid attention, pay it first. Abby, take it away.
Growing up in a severely type A family, I've always fought for attention. Interruptions are always present at our family dinners, each of us eager to share our own successes. After years of our voices drowning in overlapping noise, my family has devised a system in which we're all equally heard as we do listen. We go around the table in turns, sharing the highlights and lowlights of our week, not speaking until it's our turn. Believe it or not, it's much easier to be listened to by someone after you've devoted your attention to them. The same concept applies in multiple scenarios, in friend groups and classrooms, and though I'm not a businesswoman yet, I'm sure it applies to work atmospheres. When I think someone hasn't paid any attention to what I have to say, I can't honestly say I'll pay them any attention in return. When I felt heard, I feel inclined to listen in return. Knowing that, I've recently been making an effort in overly pay attention to others, and in return, I felt heard, especially during family dinners. Attention is currency, and when spent correctly, can make you rich. Every time I'm frustrated with the lack of attention I'm being given, I try to give a little first. What goes around comes around, especially at the dinner table.
Ooh, get down. There you have it. So I'm going to leave this up because there's this. I always ask you, would you have written this the same way if you were writing it today as what you wrote? Obviously, this was what, 10 months ago now that you wrote this? Almost,
Gotcha.
literally we could say almost a year ago. You wrote this in 2024, right?
That's crazy.
So, well, it's going to get faster and faster, especially once you go to New York. It's going to go lightning fast.
Very soon.
Get ready for that. Now, my question is, and a lot of times I think, no, you might have different insights, or no, you've grown so much in the last 10 months that you might have written something different. But I'm not so sure tonight.
I don't think so. I don't know if I would have, because this one I think is very like anecdote based about like the whole family dinner, and it all ties into that. I don't know if I would have used the same anecdote specifically, but I don't think that much would have changed about what I said. I also, it's completely separate. This is not answering your question, but I like the very last paragraph. I like that. I think that like alone.
Well,
could
that
have
was
just
going to be my
explained-
second question. I just didn't want to too quickly skip over the question that I always ask first after
Yeah.
the reading everything. It's like, would you write it the same way if you had to write it today? But yeah, now let's talk about your wordsmithing, your phraseology in particular.
Mhm.
I'm looking at, like, for example, attention is currency, and when spent correctly can make you rich. Is that original? Did you read that somewhere? Where did
I
that come from?
definitely
Do you
did
remember?
not read that somewhere. If anything, it might have been like you and I could have had a conversation, and you might have said like attention is or compared it when I was talking about the stack, compared it, and then I kind of just wrote that because I don't think I've ever heard that, and I'm also
Okay.
not the type to directly quote somebody else. If anything, I'll just kind of like try to to really reword it. But you probably in our conversation referred to it, if from what I remember, or maybe you did say that. I don't know. I don't remember. If you remember something differently, I don't know. But I don't remember you ever saying that specifically. But I remember reading. I mean, I was just reading it just now. I was like surprised. I was like, oh.
Well, it's there's a couple of things that for me to tap into. Number one, I love when you say, I'm not the type of person to quote somebody directly. Like your instinct and almost like
Because I'm not.
unwavering commitment to make it your own. Your belief in your originality, your authenticity, your creativity.
Mhm.
So noted. Let's put that on the board. That's one. Number two is, yeah, because this is a snack that this is one of the snacks that I got out of your way. When
Yeah.
the way that it was originally written, you're like, huh, what? And when I explained to you what I meant, right, that basically the ability to pay attention, this is what I'm communicating, the ability to pay attention is what's going to make us successful, is it's going to give us advantage, right? People think like communication. When I ask my students, what is communication? They always say getting your point across, getting your point across, getting your point across, getting your point across. It's like, wait a second. I was like, getting your point across to who?
No.
Right. And we have to, for me, I always want to shine a light on the fact that the most valuable of all of the communication skills is the ability to listen. But listening makes us vulnerable because we're not the ones talking or controlling the narrative. We may not like what we hear. We may not agree with what we hear. We may have to look within. So people that don't let other people speak deep down inside are terrified. They're hiding something. They're afraid. They're guilty. There's something dark, unwilling to be vulnerable, don't want to be found out, don't believe in them. There's some people that cannot listen. There's something underneath it all that isn't healthy and needs to be flushed out. And I've been guilty of this at times in my life where I won't let people talk, and I fool myself into thinking, well, what I have to say is better, or my thought's really going to move the conversation forward. And I'll tell you what, the other night you came home and you wanted to tell me something, and I pause the TV and I make eye contact with you and I listen, and you tell me, and you go upstairs, and Marianne's like, what's going on? What are we watching? Or this or that? Why is the TV paused? And I'm like, because I wanted to give Abigail my 100% undivided attention when she wanted to share her day with me. And so it's not just like listening, while we're on our phones, but it's like put everything down and give the dedicated listening. There's been so much more of that in our house this past year. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. And then
us.
I think so. I mean, look, I think there's plenty of credit to go around. I think everybody's working hard on making sure that we're as healthy as we can be before the umbilical cord cuts, and we're largely invested in each other. There's about to be huge disruption. I've seen people that have watched their kids go off to college 5, 10, 15 years sooner than what I'm experiencing right now. So I've seen some separation anxiety in the coaching sessions, and I've kind of had a heads up on what to be ready for, and I've just tried to be the very best version of myself I can be, and I want to do the work and have the conversations and find different approaches, and so you and I can take a lot of credit, but everybody in this house is working hard, on the love part, on the look within part, on the put the damn cell phone down and pay attention to the people you love part, right? And let's share with each other without triggering the ego defense that I talked about leading up to tonight's snack. Now, another thing I wanted to share real quick, just to get it out of the way, I write a clues letter to my database every week. And this is what it looks like in raw form, in Microsoft Word form. Can you see? So I wanted to tell you, like, hey, this is another KloobySnack that Abby wanted to rewrite out of its original wording I used when creating it. Here it goes. Ready? Attention is not going to pay you until you pay attention. And like Abby didn't like it. I didn't argue with her. We'll explain further. So, but that's, I just saying, like, that's it. And so this was my version. This is the original. I'm saying, hey, attention's not going to pay you. We're not going to benefit. There's no ROI, right, on attention until we pay, right? We got to pay. The pay of paying attention is the discipline and the willingness to be vulnerable that it takes to listen to somebody, right? And so I think all of that's on display, but like you totally put it in your own words. I loved what you came up with here from a wordsmithing perspective. I'm going to bring it back and put it back up on the board here as soon as I find it. I promise. Where are you, KloobySnacks? Come back to me. That's not it. That's not it. This is it. All right. So yeah, right here. This is crazy. This is, and the only thing now here. Can I play tit for tat?
Yeah.
There's only one word I would change here.
What?
Can you tell me what? Can you guess what it is?
Let me pull up on my book. Hold on, instead of looking at there because it's hard to read.
It's hard to read. Well, I'll read it again out
phone.
loud. Attention is currency, and when spent correctly, can make you rich. Well, there's one word I would definitely change, and then there's another one that's like, if I could change another one, I would.
Would you change the can?
No, I would leave that one. That one's perfect.
Okay, I'm like, I can't see anything. I don't know.
Yeah, the reason can is because we don't want to sit here and say, will. Like, we want to be careful about you only make promises you can keep, right? So the power of suggestion is powerful, right? But again, in marketing and communication and personal and professional growth, it's not law, but there's a lot of lawyers out there that will be like, well, you said it will make me rich, and it hasn't made me rich yet, right? Anyway, never mind that.
Would you change the and just say attention is currency that when spent correctly can make you rich?
Well, that's a really good guess, but no.
Oh, I would do that. I don't know. What is it?
Okay, it's spent. I would swap it for invested.
Okay.
Yeah, spent is gone. It's gone in a transactional manner for one thing. But investments have you could lose, sure, but they have a broader ROI than just paying $5 for, or paying $200 for a set of earbuds. This is all I'm ever going to get for that $200. But if I take $200 worth of my time and I invest that in listening to a mentor, or listening to a coach, or listening to a podcast, or paying attention to something that I'm reading, or observing somebody that has an experience that I want to grow into, that could just have unlimited, right, returns.
Yeah.
And so that I would change spent to invest. And it's really important to understand the difference between a spend and an invest. It's really important to know the difference between a want and a need, right? It's really important to know the difference between transactional and transformational. Hearing is transactional, but listening is transformational. And then if I can only change one other word, I would invite everybody to the party. So I would say make us all rich, or make everyone rich, or make the world rich, or make relationships rich, or rather than just a you, I would try to expand it and invite more of the world to the party. But other than that, this is just, you're 17 years old and you're taking our conversations and you're putting things into your own words, and it's attention gaining. And it's like, when you were reading this popped out. There was another one too. Well, this is good. I like this, right? Believe it or not, it's much easier to be listened to by someone after you've devoted your attention to them. It's not earth shattering, but I like it. Nope, that's it.
Yep.
That's it. And I like, just like your journalistic, the dinner table, the tiebacks that you're able to, you say
Yeah, that's
things
my
early
thing.
on.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, and tying back at the end that makes it succinct. You bring closure. That's a technique in public speaking, is to introduce something in the beginning of the speech or somewhere in the speech heavily enough or with a certain amount of focus on it, so that when you drop it in your conclusion, everybody knows, all right, speech is over, and they get the little smile on the face and this nice little package and a bow. So there's just a lot of wonderful things that I see here. And then the last thing I'll say, and I'll let you talk a little bit more, is I went by it quickly, but just to give it a little bit more depth, there's a lot of your input in this project that I was just, okay, great. And instead of me going, well, no, I thought it this way, and I think it means this, or I let go of so much in the process of the big picture, keeping my eye on the prize, which is to make sure we finish this project together. I knew what was waiting for us at the end of the project, and if we created any silly fights or disagreements along the way, they could have jeopardized the whole project, and I wasn't going to do that. So I'll say that. That's all I have to say about tonight's snack. What about you?
Look, earlier you were talking about like how listening can make you feel vulnerable, and like I don't think I've ever. I don't know how much I've really spent thinking about that. But like I agree with that. I think it's always been hard for me to listen. I think especially with you, if I just like let you talk and I don't interrupt you, and I'm like all that stuff, then I feel like I'm like somehow in like a weaker position. Do you know what I mean? So that's always been hard, and I think that ties along with like not like the apologizing and the listening and all
The
that. I've always
forgiveness.
felt like all of that. I've always felt like I was like at some like lower position, lower place on this like tower of power that like I don't know. Like I don't know. I was just thinking about this earlier as you were explaining that. And I think it's interesting how I don't know, I feel like I used to really, really, really feel like that, or like in arguments with my friends or anything. Like it was like if I wasn't the one speaking, then I was somehow like inferior. Wait, yeah. And it's weird. And I think that I've gotten better at that, and I think that it is rewarding to actually like to pay attention and to listen and to make sure that whoever the other person feels listened to, and in turn that I feel like I'm being heard when I'm like and it's my turn. But I think it's weird. I don't know, I've never thought about like why I always am like I need to interrupt and I can't listen and I need to make sure like they don't think I'm fully paying attention, because then all of a sudden then I'm like weaker. I don't know, you were saying this earlier and I was like, wait, that was me.
Yeah, well, we've gone through those instances. The thing is, just to give it back to you, one of the things that I apologize for is when that would frustrate me to the point of raising my voice when I know better. I know that there's other ways to handle it or other ways to respond to it. But I remember times where I'd be like, shut the F up. Like, stop talking. Like, I'm dad. You don't get to interrupt me. You don't have more experience that, and I wouldn't communicate those things in healthy ways. It was true. That was honest, raw frustration. But one of the things that I'm sorry for is ever raising my voice to anybody ever. Right. And so to sit here, having found a better way to get this communication through, and seeing you mature through it and receive it, it's just like, it's really wonderful for us to be where we are now through it all. And even, one of the keys to effective communication is repetition. So we kind of we had these breakthroughs last year, but as we're continuing to read the snacks every week, you're older now than you were then. You're more experienced now than on and on and on. So it's just like, it's a gift that keeps on giving. And it's case in point, right? Like the ROI on paying attention, we continue to benefit from it. Yeah. What else might you have to say? Let's see what I can bring up here. Okay. Everybody out there, if you want to join us, tinyurl.com/KloobySnack32. I see Charlie is all the way from South Africa. Let's look at the chat. Morning, Coach Jeff and Abby. No voice with flu. Is that an old post or is that today? If you can't talk,
at 8:34 right now.
Type it in. Okay. Well, be well, Charlie. Stay safe. We love you. Like you're here with the flu. That means it must be something really bite-sized and delicious, these KloobySnacks. No crumbs left behind. But we're not going to put any pressure on you to speak if you've got the flu. We're grateful that you're here and that you want
Yes.
to chime in. That's fantastic. All right. We had a lot of thank yous rolling through there. And let me come back to you then, Abby. And well, I'll remind everybody what the snack of the week is. It's if you want to be paid attention, pay it first, which is Abby's paraphrasing or rewriting of how I originally wrote it, which is attention's not going to pay you until you pay it first, or something like that, right? We're talking about the value of paying attention, that the ROI isn't going to come until we're vulnerable first. And that, this could have easily gone in ego flavored, right? Because it's hard to give up protecting our sense of self in order to, but we're talking about growth. We're not talking about staying where we're at. We're not talking about regressing. We're talking about growing. So we have to find ways to let new information come in and dedicate ourselves to listening. If attention is a muscle, we want that muscle strong. Our ability to pay attention, we want that to be a very strong muscle. And in our short form content, our filters and our swipes and our posts and our reels and our expiring, your stories expiring and such, and doom scrolling and, the fragmentation of the attention span is going down, right? Attention span's always been a challenge. I tell you, when I'm in the classroom, students have a hard time paying attention for 50 minutes at a time. And it's so much more noticeable than when I started teaching, 26, 27 years ago or whatever it was, 28 years ago. I don't know. So what else? I guess we're here. Drum roll, please. Last call. What else you got for tonight, Abby?
I would just like to say that I was on the phone with my friend today, and she asked me when I was leaving. She was like, "Oh, like when do you leave?" And I was like, "What's the date?" And wait, I'm not wrong, right? It's the 10th. And I was like, my last day is the 20th." And I was like, "Wait, that's in 10 days." Anyways, I've just really coming to the realization. I know I've like been talking about it ever since literally ever since we started these like weekly calls, ever since I like
Even
found out
before,
what
yeah.
college was. Like I've been talking about leaving and being so excited, but now it's like it's weird. Like it's like crunch time. Like I'm leaving and I'm like looking at all the stuff in my room and deciding what I want to take and not take. And like I think I said one of my first like goodbyes to somebody today, and that was a weird feeling. Um yeah, so it's weird. I was saying I went out to, I guess I just explain it. I went out to lunch with my great aunt, like my dad's aunt, and I was there, and then when I was saying bye, she was like, "Have fun in New York, like keep me updated." And I was confused, and I was like, "What?" And like she was saying like good luck and all this stuff. I was like, "What?" Like this is like my first goodbye, so it's weird. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with now.
Well, you've opened the door or window for me to breeze in with a little question about this first goodbye thing.
Mhm.
I had gone to bed early, and then the next day, Mom told me about the moments where you and AJ, your brother, realized that because he's in Europe right now and you're going to leave before he comes back, that wasn't that actually the first goodbye. And can you humor
Oh
me and
yeah.
tell me about how did that go?
That was really weird. I think like my older brother is like one of like my like family members that I don't have to constantly be with to have a connection with, and I feel equally as close with him like when he's gone as I do when he's here. But it was weird. I think we were saying bye to him, and my mom just kept being like, "This is the last time we're ever gonna live in the same house," like hopefully, and all that stuff. And it was just weird because then I earlier that day my mom had sent me a picture that came up on her phone, and it was me and AJ, and he's in like a Spider-Man costume and I'm dressed up as a princess and we're like way younger. And I just like kept thinking like like this is us. I'm like, what do you mean? Like we're supposed to be, we're still like this age still. Now we're leaving. And I was like, I'm moving out, and he's old enough to go travel the world with his girlfriend and with his best friend. And like, and I was like, we're so, I'm obviously we're not so old. Like let me be whatever, like realistic here. But it was just weird. I was like, what do you mean we're not still those little kids in our costumes, like sitting on like the floor of our living room together anymore? Like, what do you mean? Like we're like, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. So yeah, that was sad. But I'm not. It wasn't like sad. Like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. Sad. It was more of like a realization. Like we're like growing up, and like and even though I'm still 17, I feel young, and I am young. It's just weird.
Are you gonna tell me about like the breakdown part? Like, because Mom made it sound like it was
Cool.
was it?
It was horrible.
Can you just, are you like, and it's selfish of me, but the more you talk about how much you and AJ cried, the better a dad I feel I am.
Hmm. Well, we were just okay. Well, I was not planning on crying. Did not think I was gonna cry. I was actually in a really bad mood, and we're downstairs, and then Mom starts crying, and me and AJ are looking at her, and I start like laughing because she was like, "You guys are leaving me," blah blah blah, while she's crying. So I'm kind of laughing, and then AJ's like, "Stop laughing! Like you're laughing at her." So we go over and we're sitting next to her as she's crying, and then she hugs us both, and she stands up, and she's just standing in the middle of us, and it was so weird. Like me and my brother were like, we're so much taller than her. So we like go to hug each other and she's kind of just like in the middle of us. And then we're like with my mom like crying on me and then we just start crying and it was just like and we were just like standing there hugging, just crying for who knows how long. And she's like, "You're leaving me," and then I had to give my brother a goodbye hug and I was and then I was just sobbing. Um but it was just weird. It was
Was
just
there
weird.
was there like a trigger like where you just like where's the moment where you're fighting back, it's funny, and then did you just like give into it, and was it
I don't know. I
mutual?
think I
And
might have made eye contact with AJ and he had like water in his eye. I think his eyes were like watery or something. And like with like mom like crying right there. And then mom was sitting down and AJ was leaning on her. Then I was leaning on AJ. So like mom was crying on AJ. And my tears were all over AJ's arm and we were all just like crying. It was just the whole thing.
either I was upstairs in bed
Yeah, I was
sleeping. I
like,
missed the
"Where's
whole thing.
dad?"
And I'm the guy that always cries first in this family, right? Like when we're watching
First,
the
like the
movie,
first and last to cry.
as soon as you guys sense that there's anything emotional going on, I always feel your heads turn looking at me to see if I'm crying yet.
And you
And here's
are.
all this crying going on downstairs, and I'm sleeping like a baby upstairs with my CPAP machine. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's
It
funny,
was
but I
weird.
will tell you this, and not to go down too much of a rabbit hole here, but in a moment of seriousness, and it kind of circles back to what we were talking about earlier. We say, hey, there's a lot more listening going on in our family lately. You know,
Yeah.
um, I know for my part, I think we all get credit. You follow, and I just for my part, I know what I've been consciously and proactively doing in order to contribute to that culture of listening that we've improved. Along those lines, I know, and could point to very intentional, very concerted, very focused communication that I've had with both you and your brother about how important you guys were going to be to each other. Both before Brody was born, we didn't even know if Brody was coming yet, and and after as well. And it's been more and more obvious to you guys the older that you've gotten, the way that you get it. And I've written letters to AJ like, hey, your sister, remember like when he was in elementary school, like, dear AJ, your sister loves you, and just let her. If you keep resisting her and considering her annoying, she's never going to stop fighting for your attention. So why don't you guys just share it all in the good way rather than having to be frustrated by all of the, she's not going to stop. You're her big brother. You got to understand that how much you mean to her. And you could play this one of a couple of ways, but like, love your sister and you're going to be so rewarded. There's going to be no stronger ally in your life than your sister. I remember these are the things that I was putting into this letter. I remember 2 years ago or something, I came up and read it to you and shared it with you. And, you would say something like, I'm close. You would say it as a, bratty teenager, like, AJ trusts me more than he trusts you. He tells me more than he trusts you. You're like, you were bragging on yourself. And I'm like, hold on, little girl. This is all by design.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let me
Yeah.
just show you something I wrote to him in elementary school to make sure that he confides in you, and you guys are best friends. And I can't wait till Brody's an adult, and then even the 7-year and the 5-year gap is not going to be noticeable because you guys are all going to interact as adults. So that's the next milestone that I'm looking for in the three of you. But for now, when I'm hearing that you guys cried your eyes out and how much you mean to each other and how you feel connected with him, regardless of what side of the world you guys are on, and I'll even like just absorb he tells me more than he tells you. I'll absorb that because that's by design, as well he should. We always want to be there for you guys. We want you to feel that you can talk to us about anything. But boy, have we done ourselves a good disservice. Talk to each other first. Like, screen it out with each other first. And if you guys can't work it out, then come to us. We're always here for you. But thanks for being such a good sister to him. Thanks for never, ever, ever quitting on demanding his love and his attention. and now we both know what an incredible return on investment he's got in the attention that he's paid to you, and what a neat thing to talk about in the context of tonight's KloobySnack. So more proud dad shit from me. All right, let's see what's in the chat here. Charlie might have had something else to say. Very touching. Oh man, very tough guys. No, touching guys. No, very touching guys.
My managing the sibling fights.
Yeah, I can imagine, Coach Jeff. Well, I tried to nip it in the bud as early as possible. To truth be told, there was a period of years there where the siblings were having more fights with me than they were having with each other. Anyway, the KloobySnacks project it's deep, it's layered. We hope that it's doing something for you guys, but here we are. Our daddy-daughter therapy is on display for all of LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook to see. Charlie, we appreciate you coming in every week and being a part of what we're doing here. And Abby, I think the world of you, and watch out, world. 10 days left, and I'm flying back. Mom's staying out there, for work, and I'm going to be on the plane by myself, and it's going to be funny. The little square napkins that they give you for the cocktails, they don't work when you got to blow your nose because you're crying your eyes out. Anyway, wish me luck in advance. It's going to be a fun play ride home for Klooby.
You can use the sleeve method.
Whatever. I might, me and napkins. I'm going to have towels in the back. I'm going to be ready for this. But Waterworks is in my future for sure. I love you. Yep. Have a great week. And we'll see everybody next week with KloobySnack number 33. Good night, everyone.
Bye.